Hey there, welcome to part two of my thoughts on the 2023 Oscars. I had so much to say about it that I decided to split it into two parts because I didn't want to be sitting here talking about the Oscars for an hour. So here we are with part two, and in part one, I talked about the things that I was the most passionate about in terms of the certain categories, as well as what I consider to be the brightest and the highest points in the entire show. And I feel that in part two, this is a good place to talk about the low points. And for me, there really weren't a lot, but there's enough to make them into their own video. So, one of the first low points for me that immediately stands out is the host, Jimmy Kimmel, because Jimmy Kimmel himself is one giant low point. I do not know what Jimmy did to get to the point where he is in his career, to reach the accolades and the success that he's obtained, because the man is not that talented, he's not that funny, and he's not that good of an actor. It's crazy to me that Jimmy Kimmel, who has not changed one bit when it comes to his line delivery and his comedic ability or ability in any capacity since his days on The Man Show, has hosted the Oscars numerous times and has had his own talk show for as many years as he has. Jimmy Kimmel is an unfunny, untalented hack who, for some reason, I guess because he has an uncanny knack for kissing an unbelievable amount of ass, that he's able to continue to glom on and have this storied career. I don't get it. I don't understand. I will never understand. And, if you're a fan of his, that's cool, to each their own. But I think he sucks. And I think he's always sucked. And this monologue and his hosting of the Oscars was no different. He was making jokes about Encino Man, talking about how it's a forgettable 90s movie. You must be living in some kind of bubble, Jimmy, because Encino Man is far from a forgettable 90s film. It's a cult classic. It's beloved and loved by a lot of 90s kids. And of course, he had to throw in a dig at Pauly Shore. And to me personally, Pauly Shore will go on to be far more memorable than you will ever be. So, uh, you know, uh, say what you want about Pauly, but to me, he made more of an impact culturally than you will ever make, despite the fact that you've hosted a talk show and have hosted the Oscars as many times as you have. Um, and oh no, just lame jokes, lame presentation, just a poor host. Stop bringing him back. Why? It really feels like when you bring Jimmy Kimmel to host the Oscars, you're just settling. So yeah, Jimmy Kimmel was a low point. Another low point was Elizabeth Banks and a guy dressed up as a cocaine bear on stage. That was pure cringe. Unhealthy levels of cringe. And other than Jimmy Kimmel and Cocaine Bear, I would say the other lowest point is a very complicated point in the show. And this is where I'm going to dedicate the bulk of this video on, because there are different layers and different aspects to this moment that I feel should be detailed, and I feel that they should be discussed carefully and with appreciation and respect for all sides of the situation. And for me, Definitely one of the lowest moments, arguably maybe the lowest moment, was how the cameras caught Angela Bassett reacting to Jamie Lee Curtis's win for Best Supporting Actress. There is not necessarily anything inherently wrong with the way that she reacted. It's just that the time and the place for a lot of people, including myself, was wrong. Was not the right place to react in such a way because it sets a bad example. To me personally, it sets a bad example for all the people that look up to Angela of all different races, of all different genders, because it shows that it's okay to not build others up in moments when you're down. It showcases that you can react in a way that is cold and can come across as unsympathetic or uh, an instance of being sore and unappreciative of the efforts and the moment for the winner, for the person that received the award. And to me, it really does. It sets a bad example. It's not necessarily about it being human. It's not necessarily about being a real and raw emotion. It's about setting the right example for others for moments like this when you don't win. And I know that can be difficult for some people. I know people react differently. But in a moment like this, in front of so many different people, and in a moment that's this visible, I feel that you really should take it upon yourself to be the bigger person and to stand up and clap, even if you're hurt. Because so many other people who have been nominated, who have lost in this situation, have done the same. What makes you any different? To be honest, I just have to be honest here. What makes you different? What makes it okay for you to react in such a way? For me, it doesn't matter what the race is of the person that is reacting like this. Staring daggers at the stage, sitting down with your hands by your side while Jamie Lee Curtis is going up to accept the award for Best Supporting Actress. Jamie Lee wouldn't have done that. If the roles were reversed, Jamie Lee would be cheering and applauding and being super happy for Angela because she already was. When Jamie Lee lost the Golden Globe, she was humble and she was thrilled and ecstatic for Angela in that moment. So that's incredibly disappointing to see. And it does. It sets a bad example. And it's a bad look. And it's a shame that the cameras caught that moment because to me, it's not a moment that's praiseworthy or a moment that should be applauded because it is. It's a moment that doesn't set the best example or the best precedent. And I know there will be people that will try to make this about race, and people have already done that. I've seen articles, one from, I think it was Time Magazine, trying to say that, oh, white people just expect black people to put on a smile and da 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 da. And to me, that's not what it's about. It's just about being the bigger person, about showing humility, showing grace in a moment of weakness, in a moment where you are vulnerable, where you're hurt, where you are disappointed. it's not a race thing. To me, it's just the right thing to do. And what's sad is Angela is very capable of being compassionate for others, and showed that this very night at the Oscars when Austin Butler was waiting to hear who won the Oscar for Best Actor. She was there by his side. She was holding his hand, and she continued to be there for him when he heard that he lost. She was supportive, she was caring, and that was really something that put Angela and who she is to the forefront. And that's what I mean by complicated, by complex when it comes to this situation, because there are different layers to this, there are different aspects to the way that Angela showcased herself and the way that Angela was portrayed by the cameras. And I feel the Oscars, they are to blame when it comes to the camera work and the camera people in terms of maybe leaning into or kind of presenting things in a certain way, maybe intentionally for buzz or for some kind of controversy, or maybe inadvertently. Uh, and Angela's also to blame too because she chose to act the way that she did in that moment when Jamie Lee won. And yes, she's not the only one that reacted in a way that you could consider to be cold. Carrie Condon had a similar look on her face when Jamie Lee Curtis was announced as the winner, but Carrie Condon still stood up and clapped for Jamie Lee. But that's the thing. That's what's so disappointing about this low moment in the show is that it really doesn't show the full character or the full portion of Angela Bassett and who she is. She's not only an immensely talented actress who in my opinion will eventually get her due. She'll eventually get her moment, and even if she doesn't win an Oscar in the future, to me she's done far enough. She's done so much when it comes to her work in the industry that she doesn't need that particular validation to feel validated, to feel like she's done enough, to feel like she's showcased how talented of a performer she is. And the fact that she feels like she has to do that, and the fact that anyone feels like that in this industry is a shame. It really is. That these actors and these actresses and these performers feel like if they don't win an Oscar, if they don't win this golden statue, that everything that they've done in their career is invalidated. I feel that that's just wrong in its own right. There are so many actors and actresses in this industry who don't even get nominated, who are every bit as deserving for their performances, but for whatever reason, they don't get the recognition. I mean, you got Peter Weller, who, in my opinion, should have been nominated twice, should have been nominated for Robocop and for Naked Lunch, but didn't get nominated for either one. You've got even actors who are on the rise today, like Gabriel LaBelle for his performance as um, Sam Fableman in The Fablemans. I think he was robbed. I think he should have been nominated at the very least for his work in The Fablemans because he was that good. He was that fantastic in his role. And there are countless other examples when it comes to people who deliver really good performances, like Michael Douglas in Falling Down. I don't know if he got nominated for an Oscar. I don't really remember for sure. I'd have to look it up. But if he didn't, definitely deserved it. And there are a lot of other instances throughout history that you can think of, that you can point out. Kurt Russell to me for Backdraft as Bull. Very overlooked performance. Deserved an Oscar nomination for his work in that film. So the list can go on and on and on. Jo Beth Williams, you want me to talk about representation of women who were snubbed? Jo Beth Williams in Poltergeist. Another Oscar-worthy performance that didn't get the respect that it deserved in my eyes. And even Angela Bassett, she should have won for What's Love Got to Do with It as Tina Turner back in the 90s. So she should already have had an Oscar. But the fact that she has reached the point that she has in her career, and the fact that she's even been nominated once, let alone twice, that is validation enough for me. And I know that I'm not the one that should necessarily be making that decision or that final judgment, because it's really up to her. But for me personally, from what I've seen from her career and from what she's brought to the realm of cinema, she doesn't need an Oscar win to be validated when it comes to her talent as an actress. And it's a shame. It really does suck that for many, many years, a lot of African American actors and actresses were underappreciated and so on. It's the same boat as Asian actors and actresses. And I hope that in the future, more uh, actors and actresses of different races and ethnicities and genders and gender identities and so on and so forth, when they do something that is considered worthy of a nomination of an Oscar, I hope that a lot more of them in the future do take home that trophy. But I'm strongly against people winning an award just because the Academy wants to check off a certain box. And I know that that was an argument as well. That's another low point for this show, is that there were arguments that people had that the show was somehow racist because of the fact that Angela didn't win, Jamie Lee won over her. And this is a show that provided a lot of recognition and validation for Asian actors, actresses, and performers and directors. And I mean, for people like James Hong, who was in his 90s and has had an unbelievable, unreal career in Hollywood and beyond, and has been in countless films and roles. And for him to be a part of a wonderful moment where Everything Everywhere All at Once wins Best Picture, and for him to hold an Oscar is a great moment. And it's a great moment in Asian history. And it's something that definitely should be appreciated and not looked at as some kind of token victory for Asians, or overlooked in favor of a situation where Angela didn't take home the gold. It's because Angela Bassett didn't win her Oscar. That doesn't mean this year's Oscars, the 2023 Oscars, was somehow racist. That's ridiculous to me. It's really quite disappointing to see that that's a discourse that's being talked about when it comes to this year's show. So yeah, it really is a show that had a lot of highs and some of the best moments to me in Oscar history, and some of the best moments that I will see all year. But it also had a low moment, and a low moment that sadly for a lot of people, that would be a lasting impression that they have of Angela Bassett. And that's a shame. I mean, it sucks. It sucks that she, after all these years, hasn't won this award. And I feel for people who are disappointed. I feel for her. Um, but she's not alone. Glenn Close was nominated 8 times, a record amount of times, by the way, and she didn't win once. Can you imagine that? You were nominated for a Oscar 8 times, and you don't even take it home once. And Glenn took it on the chin. She handled it like a champ each time with grace and with class. And, people are different. And I know Angela was hurt. And it's one of those things where I sympathize with her because I really feel she should have gotten an award at some point in her career. But like I said, Glenn Close didn't need an Oscar for her to be considered validated when it comes to her contributions to cinema and her talent as an actress. I feel the same way about Angela because I don't see these talented women in ways where I see race. When I see these actresses, when I see their work, I see talent. I see talent that should be recognized and rewarded in a multitude of different ways. And the fact that both of these women had these moments, were nominated, speaks volumes, and it shows how talented these women are. And as the years go by, both of these women and every woman who has been in this position, who has been nominated for their work, will have validation. They will be validated for many, many, many years to come, just as much as the winners. Because people who are fans of film, who appreciate these performers, they will admire, appreciate, and respect the effort of these actresses and these actors, regardless of what awards they might win. Because it's not about the awards for them, it's about the talent. So that's really um, how I feel about this whole thing. And it is a shame that for a lot of people they're just getting caught up in this. They're getting caught up in the drama, the controversy. They're either rallying so hard for Angela or for other candidates like Stephanie Hsu or even Carrie Condon that they are kind of running over Jamie Lee Curtis. And that's disappointing because to me personally, there are better ways to handle a loss. It's funny how there are people who are reacting similarly to how Angela did in the moment on social media. It's an identical sort of reaction where people are being sore and sour, and it's unfortunate. And honestly, to those people, take a page from Stephanie Hsu, who was cheering loudly for Jamie, or Angela herself when it comes to her showing compassion for Austin when Austin wanted or needed somebody to be by his side in that moment when he lost. Because, you know, I feel for Austin too. I mean, Austin put so much into his role as Elvis. 3 years of his life, he caused permanent damage to his vocal cords because of what he did in that film. He sacrificed a lot and he put so much into it. And, Brendan to me was so deserving of it, but Austin was every bit as deserving. And I think it could have gone to either one. And to me, Austin, he won in his own way because his performance was that terrific and that tremendous. And I feel that it'll stand the test of time for many, 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 many years to come. And this is just the beginning of what will be a very uh, uh, worthwhile and rewarding career for Austin. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to me when it comes to like this the dynamic of this show where you have so many just great, wonderful moments. Brendan finally getting that validation and getting that win and just culminating this comeback. Kay winning for a best supporting actor and getting to live his dream, seeing his dream come true, and sharing that with so many people, his Goonies brothers, his family, his friends, his fans, Harrison Ford, and even Angela, because I really do feel that the moment that she shared with Austin, that should be one of the lasting impressions that people have um, when it comes to her her night at the Oscars. Um, because even after being upset and in a very visible way, she still took it upon herself to be there for Austin in that moment. And it is a damn shame that one of the biggest lows is that we aren't necessarily discussing Angela consistently in this manner. We're discussing Angela as the sore loser and oh wow, look at Angela and how she handled the loss and how she had no class and I understand that and in a lot of ways like I said in this portion of my discussion of this year's Oscars I've shared the same opinions, but there are more layers to it. There's more to Angela, and there's more to what she showcased in terms of her character than just that moment. So, yeah, fascinating, interesting, just really captivating show in a lot of different ways. Just a lot of just a total opposite from a lot of years past. And hoping this is a trend that will continue in the future with the Oscars, and where you get these moments where you see people being human in so many different ways, and you see these larger than life celebrities showcase uh, sides of them that are humble and just very human, and they show emotion and they show a lot of things that are the opposite of superficial, despite the superficiality of the entire awards ceremony. The fact that there are so many of them that are willing to not make the moment about themselves and about this moment and an accolade. They make it about other people and what they brought to the table. They make it about the people that supported them for many, many, many years and allow them to be a part of all of this and provide words of inspiration to people and in some instances showcase ways for people to learn learn how to be patient in life and wait for rewards and success to come and not feel like it's never going to happen. Still keep that dream alive to also show how maybe you shouldn't act in a situation when you lose, how there's a different way to handle it, and that way might not necessarily always 100% be the best way or the only way, but in a situation where the cameras are on and you're in front of such a wide audience, that maybe there is a different way to go about it that doesn't involve you showcasing so openly and so vividly your disdain or your disappointment for the result. So yeah, there's just so many different levels and moments of highs and lows when it comes to this show, that it definitely was something that was worth watching, and I felt it was definitely something that was worth discussing. So anyway, don't really have much else to say when it comes to the second part, except thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more content, for more discussions, for more videos in the future. And as always, I'll see you later.